In this episode...
Should we do a live show?
Yo, Manchild, you got the cameras? Manchild, you got the mics? Manchild, you got the tripods? Memory cards? Cables? Do you even know where the venue is?
Manchild, why'd you captain Lukaku in the last 5 game weeks?
The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, fuck, they even clapped.
After 2 hours of setting the mics up, cables, cameras, I have to sit like a fucking hunchback. So, listen, thanks everybody for turning up to our first ever Planet FPL Live.
You're going to do that for an hour.
There we go.
Probably the last.
Yeah, well, let's see how you guys do in the Champions League final. This has been quite a few weeks in the making, so I really wanted to say thank you to the people that have turned up to watch us in our first ever live podcast. I thought it'd be just the same as a normal recording, just with more people watching, other than just Manchild and Matchild as we normally have, but it's a little bit more nerve-wracking.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a bit.
Definitely.
So, season's over. We had our season wrap-up podcast a week ago, or 5-6 days ago, so that's all done and dusted. So today we wanted to have a lot more fun really with the community, a few more interesting, exciting, fun features within the show. We've got 2 hours of podcast and then we've got FA Cup final, watching Man City lift another trophy. Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to break the show up into two halves. First half is our podcast as we're recording now. And second half, we've got some guests. So we've got some of our correspondents have turned up today. So thank you to all of those that have. Neil has travelled all the way from Denmark.
You fucking ruined that line,
mad.
haven't you?
To be honest, we had Dan travel down from Liverpool, right? And I actually think that the journey from Copenhagen is A, going to be cheaper, and B, probably quicker. So we've got people that have travelled far and wide. So we've got a few interesting features later. Tom's here from Who Got the Assist. Thank you very much for coming down, mate. So we've got a few features with these guys later.
Yeah, sweet. Do you
Indeed.
need to do any bits like, if the fire alarm goes off, run, that kind of thing?
No, if the fire alarm goes off, stay, because what we have to say is way more important than anything else.
And because we're the furthest from the fucking exit.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any fire drills planned. I don't really know the fire drill rules, so we're good to go. Oh, we've got some Q&A as well. If you have written down a question and dropped it in the bucket, hopefully we'll pull them out.
Where's the bucket?
And we have a man-child to fix this flipping
Hey.
wire. So,
Talking of man-child,
yes.
we did say we would... We did say we would mansplain this team a little bit.
We would get man-child to mansplain his team.
How are we going to
So
do that?
up until game week 31, which is when the chips kicked in, this guy was beating me for a certain couple of game weeks. And we did the stats. He made 15 transfers all season. I made 38.
I think 12 of them were on his wild card, I think.
Yeah, true. Half of that was when you changed your wild card team. So obviously, Who Got the Assist run a zombie league. Your team was as good as a zombie team. In the end, you finished 1.3 million, helped by the fact that you captained Lukaku for about 5 of the last few game weeks, even though he was
The
injured.
joke is that you actually moved it from Aguero
exactly.
to Lukaku.
But what we want to know why you picked the players you did, because me and James do know.
Well, Lukaku's easy, because I think you said it in one of the podcasts, and I heard the word Lukaku, and I'm like, Captain, problem solved.
You never told me you were going to give him a mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in charge of the mics. That's Manchild's starting 11 in game week 1.
Are you
Tell us why you picked Alisson in goal.
Well,
And be aware there's women in the audience.
And my mum.
it's got a cool name, innit? I picked Alisson because nothing really gets past my girlfriend, and Alisson's a girl's name, so I figured nothing's going to get past Alisson, and he deserved to be in goal.
I think that's good strategy. Nothing gets past the woman. And to be fair, he did keep the most clean sheets all season.
Yeah, solid.
Seamus Coleman.
So, 2 reasons. I had a guy who wasn't very nice to me in school called Bradley Coleman, and I figured if he's playing football now, solid pick.
Yeah, it's
That's
not the
about
same,
as far
right?
as that one goes.
Robertson.
Robinsons, you can't go wrong with Robinsons. And
It's
Robinson's cordial. Mendy.
Oh, so if you get injured, then you need to Mendy fast, which means that this guy, problem solved.
And exactly the opposite happened to Mendy all season. Okay, cool.
Dunk.
Basketball.
All right.
Fantasy basketball. I can't argue that. Goodmanson.
Well, it's in the name. He's a good man, son.
Fair play. Westwood.
He kept BBC Radio 1 going for at least the best part of 20 years. If he couldn't hold my team up, come on.
And to be fair, Westwood scored quite a big chunk of your points this season.
Of course he
came
did.
in off the bench quite a few times, a fair few assists and goals, which the only reason he came in off the bench was because half of your other players were injured and you didn't actually make the transfers you were supposed to.
Yeah, I don't actually know how to tell
know.
whether or not players are injured or not, so there we go.
To be fair, Westwood ended up as one of the best 4.5s, mate.
And can you just explain to everyone what the exclamation marks are?
So you have like blue circles and like a star, and I think it's a version of that, like it's like a hot pick or...
Yeah, so the red doesn't mean better than yellow, and yellow doesn't mean better than orange or whatever.
Yeah, but I clicked on a player once and I figured this out, and it said it said 75% chance of playing. And I thought that was a good, like a 75% chance more than usual, which is 175% chance of this guy playing. So fucking, why would you not at that point?
So now, this is going down as FPL strategy history. This is how we're going to be picking our teams moving forward. And based on my overall rank this year of 720...
I beat you with this team.
Yeah, you did. A few. Yeah, you did. Blind Captain Aguero all season. That kind of works sometimes. So yeah, you did. We'll give you that. That's the credit. I finished 720,000, so I'm not here giving anybody any FPL advice whatsoever.
I want to know how you got to the rest of the choices, to tell you
Yeah,
the truth.
there we go. Jace, tell everybody about FPL Analytics Analyzer.
Where's Tom? Like, Jesus, you got the wrong guy. So I looked at sort of comparing our teams, and rather than just sort of coming and comparing my team and Sergi's and this Pratt's team, we thought we'd compare it with the guy who actually won FPL. You know, the guy who the official account said, oh yeah, this shit's
Adam
easy.
Levy up there on the screen.
Adam Levy, yeah, I can't say I know the guy. In fairness to him, he didn't actually say himself that FPL was easy, but that's how the account made it out, which wasn't very clever. Manchild or Serge, who's pressing the buttons?
Me.
So this is the difference in, I thought it'd be interesting, it's probably more interesting to look at what Adam did to see in terms of his average per week. Nearly 70 is pretty monstrous. I think that's kind of changed the game a little bit in terms of what we think's acceptable for an average. I mean, you're normally happy with your 50, aren't you?
Well, I started the season thinking that 50 was a good average, only because Eggersdorf said it was a good average, and now that he's moved away from that.
Blame the guy who's not here.
I think 60 is a good average. The interesting thing from the overall scores and stats, when you showed me this data, was I'm 3 points a game week behind you, and yeah, I know over an entire season that's 100 and whatever points, but it's only one assist a week, right? It's one lucky goal going in off a post or not, or Jota
Every week.
The first half of the season was Alonso. Yeah, every week, to be fair. Whereas he's 10 points a week ahead of you.
Well, he's obviously getting an extra 3 lucky assists every week.
That average of 70 per week feels unachievable for me. Like, I don't know how I'd get 70 points week in, week out over a 38 game week season.
Well, you probably won't.
No, that's why we didn't win and he did. It's really interesting to see how the averages played out, that he was on 70 points per game week.
That's pretty mad. So we looked at captains. Press ahead, please, Serge. So as you can see, 31 times out of 38 he hit his captain. He actually used 11 different captains. What was interesting when we broke down the data was that even Manchild hit his captain 25% of the time, obviously not in the final 5 game weeks. And so did I, which was the same as Adam. Is that right, 25%?
Yeah, exactly. It's 24.6 or something like that. There's maths, isn't it? We don't do maths.
Yeah. No, that don't feel right. We looked at... so his captain hit, 31, isn't it? Sorry.
It was the percentage of
31
points.
out of 38, you got it, yeah.
Percentage of points that came from your captain was 25% on average for people. For me, it was only 22. And Manchild scored more captain points than me. I feel like this podcast is descending into why Manchild did better than me at FPL.
The captain percentage there is the amount of points it contributed to the overall total.
Exactly that.
And you did make a point on Monday's pod about saying, like, in terms of getting your captain picks was...
Yeah, first half of the season, I got it right, probably 7 out of 10. Second half of the season, in about 20 game weeks, I had about 8 captains correct. Less than that even. I can't even remember the number. It was that bad. And I think I'm still haunted by that guy with the big hair. What's his name? Who plays for the team that play in the
Fellaini?
light blue shirt? Sane.
Oh, yeah.
Leroy Sane.
So I was
My
listening
mind's
to...
going back to being locked in his basement.
I'm gonna give-
Game week 25 with triple captain getting me 3 points.
Yeah. Biggest mistake of the season?
What was... Give me the chance to do it again. I would have triple captain Leroy Sane again.
Oh, good.
Do you know what I forgot to do before we came to the show, and I had it on my list of things I needed to do? Go to the cash machine and get 50 quid for you.
That's right, you can do that at half time, thanks.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it in the break. But yeah, you're only happy for me to triple captain Leroy Sane week in, week out, because I'll owe you 50 quid again next season.
Yep,
We'll do
true.
that again.
What's on the next side, pal?
Chips and transfers, as well as hits taken. So Manchild took no hits, but then he also made no transfers. I made 37 transfers. This is not including transfers that you make when you wild card or play any of your chips or free hit or what have you. This is like normal course of business transfers that we made, 37. You took a fair chunk of hits this year, mate.
No,
44
yeah, but it was at the end,
points.
wasn't it? I took hits like all of the last 3-4 game weeks, whereas
Every week, James was high on happiness from Tottenham winning another game, getting further in the Champions League, and thought, sod it, I'm going to take hits.
I had a bit of a mad one at the end. Some of the hits it certainly did in game week 38 for me with Alexander-Arnold and Aubameyang. It's probably more interesting to see that Adam had only taken 6 all season, basically.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
I only took 4 all season, but then he just scored more points than me.
That would help.
Do you think you're going to take more hits next season?
Yeah, possibly. I think one of my mistakes, I'm not brave enough.
You're not.
And that's
Taking
why
11
once I'd
hits
realised
to 44
going
points.
into the last few weeks that I wasn't going to hit the total that I wanted to hit.
Yeah.
That was kind of my test of the last few game weeks to see how I felt in an inner taking these hits and if it worked or it didn't work for me. I'm none the fucking wiser, to tell you the truth. So I don't really know.
To be fair, all of us have got our minds on next season's game, but I think we need to just go back to the basics and see what happens. I'm still mulling over what happened this season for me. I just want to get my captain right next season. I just want to get my captain right, and I just want to beat you.
Set and forget, maybe?
Maybe. Again, look.
Sadio Mane? I mean, he only had about 20% of his points, didn't you?
I owned Sadio Mane for 40% of the season and only got 25% of his points. It was literally from game week 6, where he stopped scoring, until he started scoring braces again. That's when I owned him. So, yeah. The good thing is I'm not emotional about my players.
Sack the juggler.
I'm not emotional about the players. I'd still get Leroy Sane back if I thought he was going to play. Like, if he's at 8 million next season, I'm having Leroy Sane. He can lock me in his basement again. I'll happily take that.
See, do you know what? This is kind of fine when it's me and you sitting in an empty
Leroy
room.
Sane.
Now it sounds fucking weird.
Yeah. When we talk about it, with no audience, we can get away with a lot more. And your parents are here as well, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Just so that people know, I did ask your mum earlier for embarrassing questions that I can ask you.
I was worried where that was going.
And she gave me a couple.
All right, great.
You looked at the stats in even more detail in terms of points on the bench and all of that kind of stuff. Anything else you took away from it?
Yeah, no, we need to be better at this shit. That's what I took away from it. What I took in honesty, looking at Adam's total against mine was thinking, all right, yeah, obviously in the total points I'm miles away, as are a lot of us. But there wasn't anything I could find in the data that made me think that's why he did it.
Well, that's why he won.
No, there was nothing I could find that made me think that's why he won. Obviously, look, he's obviously made great transfers and great decisions at times, but there's clearly some where he didn't as well. So there's nothing in the data that made me think it's not achievable to get nearer to that target. He won't win it next year. Someone else will. It's obvious.
Yeah, of course. I don't think the same person's ever won it. For me, I think if I get in the top 100k next year, that's progress.
A pipe dream.
A pipe dream. That's progress, and that'll do. And if I end up just being the comedy value in this show, then so be it.
You are, mate.
Interesting thing around formations. Now, this data is a little bit skewed because obviously Adam played 3-4-3 28 times. When he played 3-4-3, he averaged 70 points, which
was
pretty
higher
much
than his
average
overall average.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Just by a little bit. But when I played 3-4-3, it was a good 6 points higher than my regular average, 5-6 points higher than my regular average. Manchard only played 4-3-3 because he never picked his team, so he auto-subbed in defenders week in, week out, so he ended up with 4-3-3. You played 4-4-2 most.
Yeah, well, I spent most of the season with like success on the bench and that, didn't I? So
Yeah.
the idea with that would have been 3-5-2, but quite often ended up with 4-4-2. I think if there was one from Adam's data, it's looking at that and the 3-4-3. But I think looking back on the season, you kind of felt like 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 might have been the way to go. Generally, certainly by the end.
Go back 2 seasons, everyone was playing 3-4-3. It was literally get 3 attackers up front and go cheap at the back and then pile it in and you've got 4 midfielders. But everyone was playing 3 top strikers, probably because there's more choice. This year, Ram came in and like you got Robertsons and all the rest of them scoring big points at the back. This is why I think we might start adding 4 defenders, 5 in midfield because the likes of Salah and Sterling were midfielders.
I don't think so. I think
If some of these midfielders get moved to strikers next year, 3-4. Let's go back to the good old days of 3-4-3.
I think a lot of people will. I know there's so much talk about defensive value at the moment. I think it will probably be more a case of people will want to empty out a higher end of value from their defence with a back 3 and then 2 cheapies. It's still where I think a lot of people will end up come game week 1.
You think so?
Yeah.
And you're still of the opinion that Robertson's going to be 8.5 million?
No, 8.
8?
I think it'd be 8.
Laporte?
No one else does. I'm the only person who thinks that. I think Laporte will be 7.
We've got an audience now, so we can test that. Does anyone think Robbo will be more than 8 or more million next year? Tom,
that's not what you said on your pod. I listened to it.
James is trying to style it out like he listened.
I listened to that bit.
Yeah. I think it would make sense based on his points haul, but it wouldn't make sense in the context of the value of other players. At the end of the day, I think depending on the number of players that they have to spread the total value across everyone. So
but
if they start pushing
I keep
it
saying
back,
that there'll be others. We've said there'll people who've had bad seasons who might have better seasons next season. I think like Van Dijk and Trent, I think it'll be 7.5. I think it's going to drop and it's going to be a shock to a lot of people who are thinking, oh yeah, I want 3 of them. I don't think they're going to make it easy.
No, it is going to be tricky. So yeah, some interesting data. What was the website you used? Give it a shout out. We may as well. We don't get sponsored by them. We don't make any.
No, we're sponsored by Budweiser.
Apparently so today.
FPL Tools.
FPL Tools. Whacking any competitors, it pulls up all of the data. It also had a lot of stuff like points left on the bench and what have you. I had 5 points average on my bench week in, week out.
Your bench
which
points
goes to show my bench was as shit as my starting 11. Basically.
I think Adam's bench points was about 300 and something, and mine was the same, and yours was only about 200.
Yeah.
So it's even less excuse for your final rank. But
that's probably true, actually. If I had all the points left on the bench, I wouldn't have an excuse. This is not going very well for me.
No.
There we go. So interesting data that came through on that. We want to spend as much time in the first half an hour doing Q&A, but we do have a match at 5 o'clock today, FA Cup final day. Watford versus City. Give us your thoughts on that.
Are you going to play the Monday Night Football theme tune or not?
No,
All
because
right,
then we'll have to have a little fight like Carragher and Gary Neville, and I don't think that'll
Press
work.
some buttons. So I sat on the train the other
Manchild.
day and Manchild, press the fucking button. I thought you were controlling it.
I was trying, but Manchild's,
Yeah, press it again.
There we go.
Press it again.
There we go.
Not that many times. Cheers. So I've stuck a couple of, if you can see the screens, there's a couple of bits on there in terms of the image on the left is kind of very much in terms of, I looked at how Watford is set up, and the problem with City is trying to find a way to expose them is so difficult. So I just kind of wanted to highlight a few ways that they might go about doing it today. So the image on the left is kind of illustrates how they would generally set up, with Delafeu playing right up top off of Deeney now. Pereira obviously plays a lot further forward than Hughes. Hughes will tuck in. There's certainly emphasis, particularly from the right, but also with Holebas on the other side to get forward from the fullback areas. Essentially, if they set up like that today, they'll get completely overrun.
Yeah.
So I don't think they will. Now, in the semi against Wolves, they set up a little bit more like the right-hand image where Decore was very uncomfortable playing left-hand side of obviously the diamond. It suits Hughes, by the way. And Capu's very good as a City, was voted Watford's player of the year, is beginning to show the form that I hoped at one stage you would at Spurs. And obviously played with Deeney, Gray up front and Pereira in the hole. Now,
Don't swear, please. Troy Deeney, we don't use his name.
Oh, fuck off. Really? So obviously it didn't start with Delafeu. Essentially, that didn't work against Wolves. And it was only when Delafeu came on in the semi-final that it began to really have the impact. So I kind of took a look as well, press a button please, Manchild, in terms of obviously how City set up. Thanks, mate. There's got to be a smoother way of doing this, kids. So what you'll see is kind of two different formations for City. We kind of know this. Forgive me for the fact Mahrez is in there. Listen, we'll all be guessing the team. We don't really know. I've just picked the 11 that started last week. So the 11 on the left is kind of how they set up defensively, and then verges onto a slightly different formation that they play with the ball, which kind of highlights particularly around Walker and Zinchenko tucking in from the fullback areas. And there's another reason why they get so high up the pitch and have so much dominance in that area. What they've done really well to counteract that this year is when they've wanted to go that way and people have stuck people in that area, Walker and whoever's played left back have gone into more orthodox fullback positions.
Yeah.
The two wide players then tuck into nearer the two Silvers area and the fullbacks go in behind. And the problem with City is obviously they're so good with the ball and they can adapt.
Yep.
So, next button please, man-child. Concentrate on me please, princess. Thanks, mate. So the shaded area, that you can tell I did this in high-tech Monday night football fucking equivalent shit, right?
It's touchscreen. If you want to go up there and start touching it, I can get you a step ladder.
I need more than a step ladder. The biggest danger area for City is the two shaded areas on the left. Once they get the ball into those two areas, essentially you're dead. So I highlighted the image on the right, which shows all the passing angles they'll have when sort of someone like Silva picks it up in those areas. Essentially, he's always got 5 passes on, 5 to feet, whether it be sideways, backwards, and obviously the killer pass that they want to look for is particularly that one for Sterling running in behind. Obviously, the same works in the other channel. Press a button, please, man-child. So I looked at different ways in terms of how you can break it down. The two teams had very successful games against City earlier this season and set up in very different ways. I say successful, Leicester lost, but I think we can all agree in that game Leicester gives City a headache. So Newcastle obviously beat them back in January, and actually Benitez's sides in the 4 games that they've had with City over the last 2 years have done pretty well. They've only lost by more than a goal.
Benitez tactically is very shrewd. Right? Any time that Newcastle come up against, they don't concede a lot of goals. They know how to set themselves up against most sides. They always keep it tight.
His objective in that game in January was obviously to stay in the game.
Obviously,
obviously
as long as possible.
City, if you remember, City scored after 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But it didn't change the way they played until obviously they equalised. And even the winning penalty they got was out of an element of luck, and you're going to need that to beat City.
Yeah.
But essentially, they set up with a back 5. Now, what they'll normally do, Newcastle, is obviously Richie, who is one definitely potentially to watch out for next year, and Yedlin will normally start a little bit higher, and Perez and Natsu will get into closer positions to Rondon. But in this game, they obviously set up very deep, and the thing with that system is it stops the through ball from sort of the area of the Silvers getting in behind. So that nullified that threat. If you remember in the game, I think Sane came on late and he just couldn't get into it because he was looking for the ball in behind. So it was a case saying, okay, you're going to have to beat us on the outside and get a cross in, which obviously with Aguero up front, Newcastle quite happy to deal with that.
Yeah.
Now Leicester did it differently. So where Leicester set up there, different to sort of what we'd seen when Rodgers come in with Barnes and Gray playing as wingers quite high, brought Chowdhury into the team. They did it in the week before against Arsenal. To play with Ndidi and Tielemans, who's been excellent. And Ndidi is a top talent as well in that holding role. And the key was really defensively without the ball, and Chowdhury particularly did it very well, was get round those two in those dangerous zones that I showed you before to make sure the through ball doesn't happen. So 2 ways of stopping it. One's to stop the through ball, and the other is to stop it at its source. So Newcastle were happy to let them play the through ball, knowing they couldn't get it through.
Yep.
Whereas what Leicester tried to do was stop it at its source. So I looked at ways, and this is hard, to try and think about how could Watford try and stop City on this juggernaut, because I think if Watford just go in with their accustomed 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2, they'll just get overrun in the midfield.
Yeah,
area.
I mean, when you're playing City, you've got to think defensively first and attacking second. If you try and go toe-to-toe, you're going to lose.
It's probably more something that I think you might see more of next season, which is sort of the way I've set that up there is with Pereira and Delafeu almost both playing like a 10.
It's a very pretty Christmas tree.
It is a Christmas tree. That's one for me old man and Terry Venables there. They'll start with the 3 in sort of the same way they did against Watford's. And the 2 then, the benefit of having 2 players like Pereira and Delafeu, similar to how Spurs might have done it against City in the Champions League with players like Son and Lucas, is if you need to change, they can move back into wide areas and it can quite quickly become a 4-5-1. But the thing is, it's all right setting up defensive, you've got to try and hurt them as well. So what you need to do is break quickly when you've got it. Now, Delafeu playing in a deeper position rather than more advanced allows them to carry the ball up the field. I don't think they'll set up that way necessarily today. It's how I think they would have the best chance of winning the game. I do think, though, that a lot more teams will set up like that in a sort of 4-3-2-1 against City next year, rather than a lot of people have tried to combat it with the diamond, because it doesn't counteract the problem the fullbacks give Tuckenham.
It's going to be very tough for City next season to keep doing what they're doing. This year, they obviously lost more games than last season. They still managed to get 98 points. So even if teams do set up like that, even if Watford do set up like that, you know what's going to happen. There's still a more than 80% chance that they're going to lose.
I've said all that, and I don't think Watford can win.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big issue, right?
But
this is how you can win, maybe.
How to
possibly
waste 10 minutes of your time.
Yeah, you got a 1 in 10 chance if you do this, and you got a none in 10 chance if you don't.
So what we did, where's he gone? That's worrying me.
Oh, Manchild is there. Don't worry.
All right, perfect, brilliant.
Yeah.
Rather than listen to me and him just go on
Correct.
about my analysis, let's listen to people who know a little bit more
Exactly.
about it.
One of the things we started at the start of this season, we mentioned it earlier, was correspondence for each club plus FPL Canal, who was our resident stato. We don't get to watch every single game week in, week out, but we did find people that do watch their team week in, week out. And we also have, so we are correspondent, well, our correspondent for Watford watches them on TV week in, week out, but he doesn't watch them live because he's in Northern California. So we'll give him a pass on that. We also had FPL Pringle, who watches City week in, week out. We got them on video earlier in the week to give their opinion on what's going to happen this afternoon in the Cup final. Stephen over Zoom and Johnny Pringle over Zoom. So if we can click it, Manchild, that would be awesome.
Run VT, as Keith Lemon would say.
There we go. Cheers, mate. That's a dodgy looking look on your face, James.
Which look of mine is not dodgy?
Yeah, FPL Pringle, thanks so much for coming on to our little mini video for the live show. Quite a few reasons we wanted to get you on. Obviously, the winner of the Planet FPL Writers League.
Yeah, basically City just won everything.
Yeah, City won everything, right? So we're James has obviously wanted to really get you on to talk about the FA Cup final and obviously City winning the league and your victory. But let's start where it really matters, shall we? How do you feel about financial fair play?
I didn't know it's come out today.
That's a breaking news. Yeah, usual. Now we'll walk past that. So, what was your overall rank in the end?
I think it was 20,300 and something.
Not bad at all.
Nice.
Originally, at the start of the season, was to finish in the top 10k, but I think towards the end, obviously the last few weeks, you start to realise that it's not very realistic. I wanted to just sneak inside that top 20k. I think it was 22k going into the last game week, and I just couldn't get inside, but now I'm still happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. This has been one of the hardest seasons, so really interesting. How are you feeling about the FA Cup final then? What are your thoughts going into that against Watford?
Well, yeah, pretty confident. I think City going into it in good form, and I think Watford have dropped off a little bit since the semi-final. I think.
Can I jump in? Listen to this guy. Good form, 14 domestic
14 wins in a row.
Yeah, I mean, good form for City. Last year was 18 wins in a row, so we're not there quite yet.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I think Watford have dropped off a little bit, and we seem to have sort of peaked at the end of the season, which is obviously good. And I think just being this City team, I think he's going to be confident with any game.
Mm.
You're going, John, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. How many times have you been to Wembley last few seasons?
I don't mean to be big-headed, but I genuinely lost count.
I can tell you, mate, I've been more.
Yeah. I hadn't been. I wanted to go when City played Spurs away because I wanted to go as in basically as an away fan, not when it was just a neutral ground. But I didn't manage to go either time. But I went to the League Cup game earlier in the season.
Were you at the Wigan final?
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to say actually. Is both City haven't been to it. City, even though we've been to a lot of cup finals and been to Wembley a few times with them, this is only our third FA Cup final at New Wembley.
Because this kind of run of trophies basically started with the Stoke final, wasn't it? It was the first major trophy, is that right?
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, cool. Prediction?
I don't want to be too big-headed. Just go safe 2-0.
2-0. It's a clean sheet and 2-0.
Yeah, and we've been keeping clean sheets recently. I mean, I was slightly hoping that we'd keep a clean sheet on Sunday and Liverpool wouldn't, just so Edison sneaked that golden glove over him, but it wasn't to be. But
Have you not won enough, mate? Come on.
no, I think
Excellent. Are you taking some time out from FPL before next season now? You're going to switch off, or are you still kind of keeping a track of what's happening?
Yeah, I usually do. I don't check my timeline as regularly as I do, as in obviously in the season. But I am one of them people who, when the game gets activated again, I'm straight on it.
Yeah.
Any team.
Yeah.
And I'll be tinkering
Pressing that auto pick button at the top just to see what randomness that always throws up when you before you have to finalise your squad.
Yeah.
I remember last season, whenever I hit auto pick, it used to chuck in a lot of Arsenal players for some reason.
Why?
Maybe alphabetical. I don't know. It was picking whatever's top of the list alphabetically. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we'll close it there. Not keep you too long, Johnny. Thanks for joining us, mate. Good luck for the game. I would say Saturday, but it's today,
exactly.
Isn't it? So good luck. It's obviously a historic day if you win it. No English side's obviously done the domestic treble. How do you think, just briefly, would that compare with, say, the enemy down the road and what they did 20 years ago?
I don't think it's on the same standard. I think the treble, the European Cup, obviously, I think the one that we've won, the League Cup, isn't as big as that. But like you said, those teams never done it before. It's still a huge achievement. I think just to win multiple trophies is a huge achievement. And I think something I picked up on a podcast that you said, Jamie, I think you agree with, is that this league's title win is a bigger achievement than last year's because of the pressure we have put on us. So I think
without a doubt.
Yeah, I think so.
Doubt.
Yeah,
everyone agrees on that for sure.
He had the league one in October last season.
Yeah, exactly. We were basically playing, because the fact that we went out the cup and won the League Cup and was out the Champions League, we're basically playing just friendlies for March, April onwards.
Yeah.
But, I think it'll be a huge achievement, and I hope we manage to do it.
Well, good luck, mate. Thanks for joining us, and we'll speak soon. Mate.
Yeah, if the cup final finishes, you win, and you're looking for somewhere in London to drink, we'll be in the editor's tap.
Yeah, I've heard. Like I say, at this point, I'm going down with family, so I'll see what they want to do. I don't know what to say about you, but I just want to go to Manchester. Saturday night, I'll have mates that I want to get back to.
Yeah, no worries. But thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be obviously hearing from you in the close season once the game launches. Talking about City.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Nice
Thanks,
Take care, mate.
Cheers, pal.
Right, so we have our Watford correspondent with us, James. We have Stephen Toomey all the way from Northern California. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Everyone's
mate.
just going to be wowed by your accent. Super cool. Accent or which one?
I think everybody thinks all the correspondents live in the UK.
Yeah, they do, to be fair. But there's such a massive FPL community in America. It's huge, right?
It is. I know a couple of guys around my area that are involved, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, there's 3 or 4 that I correspond with regularly out here.
Yeah.
FPL Tornado, I think, is somewhere in the Midwest. And then down south, I have FPL Lens. So got a couple of guys who I talk to on a regular basis.
And we've always got Josh and Brandon in New York, whatever, eating bagels in New York. My accent is shit, right?
Yeah, the other coast, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah,
Josh
yeah.
and Brandon are huge.
Cool. So we wanted to get you on because obviously today's cup final day. We're recording 2 days earlier, but when we show this, it's today. It's cup final day. Man City versus Watford. And I know people are interested in why you follow Watford of all the teams to follow, as well as what your thoughts are on the FA Cup final. But let's start with the most important stuff. What happened on the last day of the season?
We got turned over. We played like shit. I have no idea. I expected 3-2 Watford, but our defense just didn't show up.
Yeah, and with fair play,
Arnautovic, Noble, they got it done.
Yeah, Holobast's
red
red card was rescinded, right, which was good. So he's available.
That is very good.
Seriously, Such. I think this guy's team had a bit more things on his mind than fucking West
Ham on the
home.
last day of the season. Fair play. And at least Antonio didn't do a stupid dance at your ground like he did at his ground. So there you go.
Small victories. I'm going to Madrid.
Okay. So tell us, man, why Watford?
I used to be a big sports fan in the U.S. Back in the day, back in the early 80s, I supported the soccer league we had out here, North American Soccer League. It died. I sort of lost track with soccer playing in college. And then in the early 90s, I got to FIFA in the Xbox. So I picked up a team called Watford, started playing with them. Doyley, Ben Foster, Marlon King. And it just snowballed from there. So ever since then, they've been the only team I've sort of shying away from the top six, United, Arsenal, Liverpool.
Yeah.
No love for Man City. But Watford has been where my heart's been, even though I'm some, 5,000 kilometers away from Watford. It's a huge weekend for us, and I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, I'm really hoping, obviously, you guys do it as well. I have no love for Troy Deeney, but the rest of the squad, I'm cool with.
Stephen, am I right in saying you've not been to the Vic yet? Is that correct?
Never been to High Street, never been to Vicarage Road. Hopefully that'll happen in the next year or so.
How can we help make that happen?
Convince my wife.
All right, get her on the phone, mate.
Yeah, get her on Twitter. You've seen that we've got @Planet FPL wifeys on Twitter. We just need @6thGoal.
Oh, yeah.
Join Twitter.
Or
you
could get rid of her.
Oh. I think that would be more expensive.
Yeah, well, if you brought her to London and sent her shopping on Oxford Street while you went to the game, trust me, yeah, that's expensive.
Just what she needs to be doing, more shopping on my money. I like it.
Forget it. What are your thoughts on the cup final? Obviously, it's going to be a very tough game.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, but I go back to the two played City earlier. We played them tough both times. The last game at home, at the Vic, we didn't get any love from Paul Tierney. It was still a poor call to give him that first goal, but through 50 minutes we played him 0-0. So yeah. I think if our midfield can hold the line against the likes of the Silva boys and KDB if he starts and Sterling, I think we've got a legitimate shot. We have been pretty shit the second half of many games this year. A lot of levels against the top six. Except for Spurs, who I do believe we came back and won 2-1. But aside from that, it's been a lot of late goals, which has really hurt all season long.
Yeah, you're gonna need your big Decore. I think is going to be so key to the game. Having a big game in midfield and dominating is going to be really important.
Yeah, and again, that's the strength of our team. Decore and Capu this year. I mean, back-to-back years have been our players of the year for Watford. We may lose Decore this year, so hopefully he can go out on top with a trophy, no matter where he goes. But I think the key to the game is going to be the forward play. I think De La Feu needs to shine. He needs to show why he was brought in for £10 million, playing, out of position. And next two are just directly behind Deeney. But we need to get some legitimate shots on goal, which is something we've struggled with all season long.
Well, look, we really appreciate you taking the time from California. I know it's stupid early where you are compared to what we're doing to take the time. It's really, you've been such a big contributor to the podcast and the website with all of your Watford articles week in, week out. You've written more articles than any of the other. They need to catch up with you next season. You're setting the standards. But we really appreciate it. The whole community does. So just thanks for taking the time to make this little video for the live show, man.
No, hey, you guys have a great time with the live show. I just want to say thank you for giving me that opportunity to give some information on Watford. Not one of those teams that many FPL managers are going to look at and go Horns. That's all I can say. Go Horns this weekend.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
One thing before you go. Good luck. Echo everything Suj said. In one word answer, are you going to win on Saturday?
2-1. Watford wins.
Good lad.
There we go.
Good luck.
Nice one. Thank you so much, mate.
Take care, mate.
Right. Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Cool.
Yeah, so really appreciate Pringle and 6thGoal taking the time out to give their opinion on the cup final, which we'll all get to watch
I just want to say one thing about that. What was mad, and obviously still seeing Stephen's big head up there,
yeah,
is after we stopped recording, Stephen walked away, and we only realised that he was outside.
Yeah, he's standing outside in the rain, actually recording for us. And James just
blew
started
our
laughing.
minds.
I was like, I thought you were inside a building. He's actually standing outside the Northern California train network.
standing under an
something or other.
underpass or something, yeah.
And just one other thing, my accents are really good. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I'm really good, mate.
Okay.
Right. We wanted to get a live audience in for the Q&A. As much as we can talk about the cup final and all the rest of what happened last season, that's just, whatevs. We want to do these live questions. Thank you if you've jotted one down on one of these slips. We're going to go through them randomly, and let's get through as many as we can in 20 minutes. If you have got a question that you didn't write down, maybe we'll get the roving mic to be able to do that as well. So there's only one place to start. And that's our regular contributor with questions week in, week out on the podcast. Big geezer Ron Weasley. Also
Where are you, boy?
Now, Ron Weasley, aka Tom's questions are a little bit controversial sometimes.
Yeah, be
so I'm going to say
careful.
come forward with the mic. The mic with the roving mic's right up the front. So if you don't mind coming forward
Go on, Ron.
to grab it. I'll tone it down a bit. Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, kick-off's 5
Because
o'clock.
I really genuinely am mildly worried about what's about to come out of here. So, go on, Tom. James, you answer it.
Oh,
Here we
great.
go.
I'm scared.
There's no
shit
profanities
myself.
in it.
Go on.
Right, Ronald Weasley's live question of the day. Which one of these scenarios would you rather happen to you?
I'm shitting myself, mate.
There's 4 options.
All right.
Right. You find your best mate smashing your missus in your own swimming pool on the same day you catch your father stealing your shares. You wrap a pig's head in Glenn Whelan's jeans and put it in his locker, only to find out you've actually put it in Kenwyn Jones's locker. He challenges you to a bare knuckle outside. Score an own goal for Colombia, knocking them out of the World Cup, causing national riots. Or you wake up on a warm summer's morning, realising Lucas's winner against Ajax was all just a dream. But you're actually on your way to Baku to play in the Tin Pot Cup final.
Oh, well said. I know it's not going to be the last one for you, James.
Nah, the missus can fuck off.
Well, to be honest, you were reading the question, and as soon as you read the first answer, I was like,
I went, yeah, I'll take that.
it feels like I've got a house with a swimming pool, so that's doing all right, right? Take the shares and take the misses. I still got a house with a swimming pool,
Yeah.
and I'm not fighting Kenwyn Jones,
No, fuck no.
and I last about 2 minutes in Colombia, so I'm taking option A.
Yeah,
You?
I'm going with that as well.
All right, fair play.
Locks
that
will
was
be
easy
changed
enough.
when we get home.
This is coming in from. Okay, some people need to go on handwriting class, which will be running in the halftime interval because I can't read some of the Twitter handles.
John
This is
Smelt,
at
Princess.
Showtime Biladze.
Where are you, mate?
Put your hand up.
Good lad.
Here we go. Statistics or the eye test? I've got a simple answer. You saw my rank, 720,000. It's neither. It's neither for me, and I'm adopting man-child strategy next season.
Always eye test for me. Not always, but 80% eye test for me.
Yeah, the problem I find with the stats is that I get very easily convinced of stuff. So you can always find stats that will make you swing one way or swing the other, depending on how you want to look at them. And I'm very easily influenced. So the more stats you show me, the more I'm likely to just go with whatever is the last thing that I've seen, which is probably not the best strategy. So I just try and avoid stats. Well, not avoid, but they don't form a big part of my decision making.
It's not a lot of our thinking.
Yeah, true. And eye test for you?
Yeah, definitely.
James has got a very understanding missus who lets him watch about 6 games of football.
No, I mean, to be honest, there's 2 sides of that. So if you take, how many of us picked Wan-Bissaka game week 1? Look at that.
Wow.
Right? So, I
That's
mean,
'cause
but
you said
that
it on the pod.
that was based on a couple of things. Information going around, but at that stage it wasn't statistical, right? It was an idea that, all right, Palace are better defensively than most of the teams in that area. And in the 3 games the kid had played the previous season, which were all big games, he played well. And there was an idea going around that he'll be there right back for the season.
Yeah, but don't forget also the fact that he was £4 million, which massively influenced.
But then there's the flip side, the different hands. How many people got Doherty at 4.4? Not as many. Interesting.
I think I was.
See, that's
maybe even 4.9.
See, so the listeners are all fucking eye test as well, right?
Yeah.
Doherty's positional in the first 3-4 weeks was like Jesus, how far forward is this guy getting? How many touches is he having in advanced areas? So people latched onto that. I latched on through the statistical on Doherty, but Wan-Bissaka was through more of a knowledge.
True. And I think, no, that's true. Next question, Wayne Arance.
Oh.
Wayne Arance?
Right, mate. Nice one.
You've got some capitals and some small, so I'm getting confused, you know what I mean? But the question's in all capitals, and it says, fuck premium forwards, question mark, question mark. Next year, obviously, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the problem is that if the likes of Mo Salah gets pushed to a forward, are you going to be saying the same thing?
I'm beginning to learn,
Sterling
Serge,
moves forward.
from speaking to people that I seem to be the only one that thinks that Salah might get reclassified.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go on, we'll do hands again. Who thinks he'll get reclassified? Oh, there's
Half the room. I think he stands a good chance. But if you reclassify Salah, then surely by that logic you've got to reclassify Mane and Sterling.
No, I don't think so.
Play different positions.
No, I don't think so. Salah had a sustained period over the Christmas period where he was playing there, and I think that's locked in people's thoughts, and it might be a way that they'll go. I mean, look, if they're both the same first day of next season, I think the majority of us would go with Mane.
Yeah.
But to sack it off, no, definitely not. I mean,
if Aubameyang had played 38 games this season, he would have won the Golden Boot.
if he could, put away more of his fucking good chances that
And
he has
still
as
won the
well,
Golden
he would have
Boot,
pissed Golden
shared
Boot.
Golden Boot. But I think Aubameyang next season, depending on what price he's at, he's really up there for me. Aguero, there's always that question mark. Has he had it now? When's he going to tip into that? He's past it.
Kane will come back into the
I thought
conversation.
he was going to Real Madrid, Harry Kane.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, he is
250
in a couple of weeks to play in the Champions League final, you dickhead.
Yeah, you can have that. Right.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for setting the assist there.
Yeah. Right now, okay, this is a question with no name. So if you wanted it to be anonymous, we'll keep it anonymous. If you want to stick your hand up and say who asked it, you can. Right now, what would be your starting 11 for the 2019-2020 season? We ain't got the most time in the world. Pick a keeper, defender, midfielder, striker, rather than a whole starting 11, if that's right.
Fucking hell, mate.
Yes.
I think a good four. I tend to go with a 4.5. I think Gator might be in that area.
Yeah.
Springs to mind. I think TAA, whatever price.
Yeah.
Hotter as a forward, Mane as a midfielder.
I'm going to go with Fabianski in defence. I think a few clean sheets that West Ham threw away this season. Hopefully he'll get tightened up next season. So I think Fabianski. The only problem with Fabianski is he's going to become a little bit more expensive than he was this season. He started at 4.5. He may be 5 next season.
Fabianski will definitely not be 4.5.
Fabianski is going to be my guy. In defence, I'm going to go with Laporte. I think Laporte had a really good season, and I think he's going to be cheaper than Trent and Robbo, if by a little bit. So Laporte, midfield. Depends who is a midfielder, but I think Raheem Sterling can't look past him. Having said that, Mark Noble ended the season in great goal scoring form, so we may go back to him.
Quite worryingly, there's some data that backs that up.
Just come back to that in a second. Up front, I'm going to go with Aubameyang. I think pretty much everyone will have seen that tweet that went out from ESPN about if long-distance goals were counted double. And I feel a bit sorry for Liverpool fans because they didn't say it. It was ESPN that said it, right? But we are all still saying, yeah, that's what Liverpool fans are like.
What I love about that...
I can't remember if it was the official reply or the WHUFC news account replied, if goals only scored by Mark Noble counted, West Ham would have won the league. And yet he scored about 3 or 4.
What I loved about that ESPN tweet was the fact that which goal basically won the league? Company's. How far out was it?
Company's goal.
It was fucking long range, wasn't
I
it?
don't know, 32 yards.
Oh, I didn't ask for exact yards, mate, but yeah, that's the
What
point,
did you
isn't it?
say? It was long.
What I'm saying is, they're saying Liverpool would have won the league on long range goals. City won it on a long range goal, is what I'm telling you. It's stupid.
All right, fair play. This question is coming in. I actually know the answer about this one.
Oh, good, crack on.
For you, what was the first game you remember crying at, either happy tears or sad tears? And Mrs. L informed me that when you were 8, sitting behind the goal in Wembley, the ball hit you on the arm and you cried like a little girl. That knowing, yes.
I don't know if I cried or not. To correct, in fairness, I was 6. It was actually on the clock end at Highbury, and the shot was taken by Gascoigne. So that's like a claim to fame.
How old?
6.
Oh, there you
You're allowed, Mum. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, definitely half-time of the FA Cup final in 1990, I remember. Being... we were 1-0 down, Gascoigne went off on a stretcher, good goal disallowed and missed penalty. One of my first football memories is being out of it at half-time. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. But we won, mate.
Yeah, true. Getting relegated, I remember when I was at uni, it was like 2001, 2 or 2-3 when we got relegated, I can't remember which. That was pretty sad. I don't think I've ever cried.
Someone shouted, was that you, Sham? You shouted free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something to shout about, mate.
No, but that was sad. And the other one was, and my brother will remember, who's sitting down at the back somewhere, Steven Gerrard's goal, FA Cup, extra time. You remember shedding a few tears over that one when you phoned me up? Yeah, that was him crying, not me, so there you go, sorry, dropping it. But that was pretty sad as well.
To be fair, if you listen to the podcast where you told that story, he wouldn't speak to you no more, mate.
And my brother doesn't listen to the podcast, so that's why we're still friends. There we go. This is coming in from Chris Woods, a.k.a. FPL
Where you, Chris?
Anonymous.
It's there.
But you're not so anonymous now. Can you recommend any decent budget picks from Norwich, Sheffield United, and Villa/Derby coming up?
The one everyone's talking about is Ender Stevens.
Yeah.
Our new Sheffield United correspondent, FPL Blade, he's saying that even at 5 million he'll go in. The majority of us are not going to go in if he's 5 million.
No.
But if he's in at 4.5, he's an auto pick for me.
Yeah.
Definitely. Particularly as his numbers have been improving during the second half of the season. Basically, someone come up with some data on the Championship, and he would have pissed it as the top scoring defender by a distance. So he would be the one if he's 4.5, but not at 5. Norwich's two wing-backs, Lewis and Aarons, are worth watching, but they concede far more goals than Sheffield United. They'll have some good attacking players. I think Pookie will be too expensive.
Yeah. So regular listening anyway, Chris, so you'll know that we've got FPL Blade and Badger ready for Norwich and Sheffield United. It's still a bit early to really start getting into it. We don't know the price of the players.
A lot of with Villa and Derby as well. A lot of those they're on loan. A lot of those players for those clubs. So no. By the way, if anybody does know any Derby fans, do let me know.
Yeah.
I really. I'll speak to you after, mate.
We'll do some of this. You can't read, but you can write. That's fine.
You can't write. That's going to be a problem working with us, I'm afraid.
We'll figure it out. Norwich especially, also James, I don't know if you remember, we were speaking, and this is new news to James, but you remember the BBC have a East Anglia correspondent, Phil Daly, who does all of the Norwich coverage. He's happy to contribute some FPL-related stuff as well, so people in high places, you can get us into the BBC commentary box at Norwich, so we will have information, but I think it's a little bit early yet to be worried about that so far. At Flaps, is it at Flaps? Flaps, there we go.
Nice, like that name.
Taking the piss. Will Man United finish top 8 next season? Low blow.
Any United fans in? You all live local, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, of course they will. Of course they will. I think United will spend big money, but in terms of challenging, listen, if you offered, I think most United fans 4th now next year, they would take that. A lot of work needs to be done.
The thing with United at the end of the season, so there was a great run with, Manchard. I don't fuck with Manchard's mics, it's dangerous. They had a great run under Ole, right? And then they had that kind of lull. And when it came to the last 2 games of the season, you thought, well, look, they have been in a bad run of form, but they'll get out of it against Huddersfield and Cardiff.
I'm interested
to
to
know fucked up those 2 games as well. So
how many people bought United players in the last 2 game weeks?
Manchard, put your hand up because you captain Lukaku.
Fucking Lukaku every week.
And Lukaku plays for Manchester United, in case you didn't know. I didn't, only because I already owned Rashford. There's no doubt United have got enough decent players to get up there into the top 4, but
have they?
They're not better than Arsenal, they're not better than Spurs, they're not better than Chelsea, they're not better than City, and not better than Liverpool.
I'd said it was either the last pod or the one before I said to you, I think most of Leicester's team would get in their side at the moment.
Yeah. Spelling, help me. Is it Struger? At Struger? Okay, there we go. Fair play.
Hello.
How do you think VAR will affect FPL specifically? Now, James loves VAR because of a couple of reasons.
VAR, my lord. I'm not a fan of VAR, you know that, but I don't want to do that now.
Yeah, but there's no going back. Let's accept one thing. There's nothing really in the world that hasn't been made better by technology. We just have to get better at using VAR.
There's been a lot of data done in terms of comparing with sort of Bundesliga, Serie A, Premier Liga, in terms of it's not had a great effect. My instinct is there'll be quite a dramatic effect in the opening weeks and then it will calm down, is my instinct. I'm not buying players at the start of next season on the basis that they are a penalty taker.
You're not?
No.
Milivojevic?
No, we've missed that the last 2 years. What's the point now? Might as well miss it a third year.
I enjoyed it missing it last year more than the year before, because last year I just didn't own Milivojevic. The year before I owned him, but I benched him week in, week out, which was even more painful. Just because he was cheap. Right, this question is also anonymous, but if you want to stick your hand up, you win the award for the best handwriting here, because this is amazing. Vij, whoever wrote this, gets another free bottle of Budweiser. Which player that's underperformed this season do you think will return to form next season? There we go, right down here in front.
Dele Alli.
Dele Alli?
Yeah. I think Dele Alli will be sort of 7.5-ish next year.
As cheap as that? Playing for a top 4 side, I don't know how many midfielders
They're all
get down
disagreeing. I'm cool with that.
Everyone's disagreeing? And can I just say, by show of hands, are you disagreeing about the fact that he'll return to form or the fact that he'll be 7.5 million?
Both.
Return to form, both. The one that came to mind, maybe because I'm scarred, was Leroy Sané. But I don't think it's a return to form. He didn't play enough. So I don't feel like picking a City player because you just still don't know, even if they are in form.
No, Sané, you're absolutely right. If Sané, what was Sané this year? 9?
£9 million.
If he's not going to get a rise, is he? If he's 9 million and he starts playing again every week, then he's an auto pick, isn't he?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But no one at City is ever an auto pick. Okay, this is coming in from Jimmy_FPL. Jimmy, where you at? There we go.
Good lad.
Which player this season made you the most angry and why? And this is not, can this be non-FPL related as well? Okay, Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney.
From an FPL, because I don't know, that's the.
Troy fucking Deeney.
I can't believe I fell for that Walcott trap in game week 4 or whatever it was. Well, how many of us bought Walcott? Was it? Look at this. I'm not the only prat.
You were I think, to be fair, in that week, you were one of the first people to start tweeting, Walcott's going to go up twice this week. So, I don't know.
Yeah, we all got 0.3 out of him, but didn't.
If anyone here works in the finance sector or stocks and shares trading, it's called manipulating the market. If you put a tweet out saying this guy's going to go up twice this week, then everyone buys him and he goes up twice this week. That's pretty much what you did.
Yeah, basically. It didn't work out though.
Yeah. No. I didn't get angry at anyone this season because I don't think emotionally I'd hold a grudge against anyone. But actually playing on the pitch, the way Troy Deeney handled himself.
God, what is your problem with this guy?
You were there, weren't you? I'm doing it with my brother. Yeah, that guy's in Norbit. Anyway, right.
See, dance around the corner flag. You were still a mile from it, mate.
Yeah. Okay, there was a letter. This is also anonymous, James.
Okay.
I'm going to aim this one at you. There was an agony aunt letter in a certain newspaper yesterday.
Oh, I saw this.
He loves Spurs more than me.
Yes, it was my wife.
What's your answer?
Yes, it was my wife.
The question was it your wife? We already know that.
What's my answer? Oh, what do I? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You ain't going to put this out, are you?
Well, she only listens to the show when you tell her that you've been talking about her. So if you don't tell her you've been talking about her...
She knows. That's the
and
trick, I told you.
Most people in here are on Twitter, @PlanetFPL Wifey, if you don't mind tweeting her now.
Yeah. She'll be single this time tomorrow, bollocks.
We will appreciate that. Or I'll just let her know, don't worry about that. The new intro for the show.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, that was me. I love Spurs more. I remember when we did
record that bit that he just said right there where he said, I love Spurs more.
Whatever James
record
says,
that, hold it, retweet it.
Whatever James says. We did the Getting to Know You podcast with three amigos. And they say, describe yourself in 3 words. Do you remember your 3 words?
Yeah, I said
husband,
wife, Tottenham. But I did say it in that order.
You didn't say wife, you said father, husband. Because if you're a wife, that would be
that would be weird.
It was father, husband.
Well, it's the weekend
Spurs.
now. I can tell everyone, can't I?
We did say husband above Spurs in the Getting to Know You podcast, so I'm going to say that you do love them more than Spurs. Right, this is coming in from...
I fucking don't.
Is it? At Flaps, Big Back 5. I like big butts and I can't deny.
No.
Go on. No? You're not thinking Big Back 5 next season?
No.
Based on what I saw with the stats earlier from that analytics stuff that you did, I think I'm going to go back to trying to do 3-4-3 as much as I can next season. If I can get a Aubameyang less than 12 million and so on and so on.
The trends that we've seen this year will not necessarily be the trends next year. You just think back to 12 months ago and how you felt about things. This year with the defenders has been a trend. I think you'll get variations in the price now. It's not necessarily going to be where we start. I think if you start picking, sort of Laporte and Walker and Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, you're going to go down a world of problems.
True. Jimmy FPL, were you hogging the pen? Because all the last 3 questions I got are all from you. So we need to get better distribution of the pens situation going on. But let's rattle through these because we're going to take a short break and then I'm going to let you know what's happening after the interval. Do you have your eye on any budget options from promoted teams for next season? Well, we did talk about that a little bit.
It's the same question.
It is. I'm waiting. I want to see what the correspondents say, and I want to see what the prices are. So I'm not looking at the promoted teams. I try and avoid them as well at the start of the season.
Name me a Norwich player.
Name you a Norwich player. I can't. Yeah, there you go.
Good job. I'll keep this going, innit?
Okay, this one's interesting. What do you think is the single most important thing to get right in an FPL season? Well, listen to the best podcast, because obviously not us.
Which is Tom's who got the assist.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the
Tom,
Hell
was your rank?
Cheaters.
No. I
Or
think
the
those guys
Amigos.
had like ranks in the 1,000 single digit kind of three number ranks, top thousands and all that, and that's the way to go. It's captain, right? For me, it's captain. Get your captain right week in, week out, and the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Transfers as well. Yeah, he's gone all fucking Adam Levy on it, hasn't he? No, there's a lot more to it.
Stephen's laughing at me, so
He is still laughing. Why is his mug still there?
Yeah, I think get your captain right.
It's obviously very important, and you can see that from the numbers that we highlighted earlier, but there is so much more to it. And now I suspect it's more about the most important thing is value. Understanding value and the impact and getting it right is more important.
Yeah. Talking on value, there was a few interesting things that you mentioned. Well, we've talked about it in the pod, but we may as well talk about it now. Of the players that were owned by more than 20% of the players at the start in game week 1, there was only 2 that went up in value in the first 6-7 game weeks.
Yeah, we analysed it about game week 15. Pod listeners will know this, I already said it, but there was only 2 of, I think it was, was it 13 players?
Yeah.
Only 2 of, I think, 13 of the more than 20% owned had gone up in price around about sort of end of November time. It was Aguero and I think Kieran Trippier, I think, weirdly.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing came actually, Tom, you're getting enough shout-outs on your show the other day, was how many players actually went up in value over the season. There was far fewer than I thought. I thought quite a lot of players would have gone up in value over the season, but it was single digits in each positional thing. Like, you're talking 5 defenders, 8, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was low. And that was really surprising. So you're right, maybe it does come back down to value, understanding
Value's massively important.
Who isn't going to go up.
These guys like Alexander-Arnold have obviously offered amazing value, and most of us haven't spotted it till right at the end, if we're honest.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to be the value next year. I think it will change. I mean, like, for example, Liverpool, I've said this, to repeat what they've done this year is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Really.
And then lastly, do strikers matter anymore? Only 2 of the top 10 players were strikers, and both cost over 11 million. Of course they matter. That's why West Ham need to pull their finger out and give Andy Carroll a new contract as quick as bloody possible.
You and your expectations, mate.
No.
Yes, they still matter. And like
See
I
you
said,
there,
it will
Andy.
swing next year.
I think Tottenham are going to buy Andy Carroll.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the point is that there were still 2 of the top 10, 20% of the players were strikers who were scored so well. Whether or not we see another season with defenders scoring so well, I don't think we'll see it as high as we did this season. So strikers will matter, but whether or not you have 2 premiums or 3 premiums.
I think like with the defenders, there'll be players from. I mean, it doesn't feel like it now. Everybody's already in the mindset of going sort of City, Liverpool, and forgetting the other 4 challengers for the top 4. But like, there might be some like Bellerin if he comes back to fitness. If some of the Spurs guys go down in price, if we had a new right back, there might be some options.
Yeah.
I think all the Chelsea guys will all be a blanket 6 and people will stay away.
Cool. We're going to wrap up the first half of the show now because it's 3:05. We're going to get back on it at 3:15. We have a few guests that are going to join us for the second half of the show, which is going to make it far more interesting than just the two of us talking about whatever we talk about. So we've got Neil coming up to join us. He's travelled all the way from Copenhagen. I can't do a Danish accent. I'm going to have to practice it.
Don't do a fucking accent.
My accents are good. Let's do it.
Go on then.
We also have 5 of our correspondents here representing West Ham, Newcastle, Liverpool.
You've pressured yourself
Fulham.
now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Palace.
And Palace, there we go. So we're going to have a quick chat with them. Hortz is with us to give us some West Ham support, give me some West Ham support. So we've got Hortz, come on you irons. And Tom is going to come up. We've got a few things planned as well. I'm excited. Tequila.
Have a drink, have a beer, have a
10 minutes
piss.
and we'll be back for the second half of the
Have a
show before the
smoke.
cup final. Thank you guys so
Cheers,
much
guys. Thank you.
for listening. Ciao for now. Cue music, my friend.
Cue music, man, child.
The Fantasy Football Show.